Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello, is anybody out there? Hello everyone on this live. Little red dot. Hello. Welcome to the live chat. Okay. Hi guys. So yeah, tonight I wanted to get on and I wanted to talk a little bit of maybe another topic or something, but I just encountered something strange. Scrolling through YouTube, and I discovered a video of an event that just happened in Hollywood or whatever, and the actors were being interviewed, and they interviewed Jim Carrey, and it's absolutely not Jim Carrey that they interviewed. It definitely looks like someone in a full head mask. He doesn't have any of the same mannerisms. In fact, someone asked him to make a face, and all he did was say, my scary face is this face, his normal face, which is not something that Jim Carrey would do. That's his favorite thing to do, is to make faces. So yeah, I popped that up on my community page if anybody wants to watch that video. But I just want to say, I believe that they've taken out Jim Carrey because he's been so very vocal for so many years. And everybody is saying, look, Jim Carrey was right all along. He's been saying it. He's been telling it us through jokes, but he's been telling us exactly what they've been doing. And I guess they finally decided it was time to take him out because nobody was going to think he was crazy anymore, because he was right about so many things. And he knows too much. So I think they've already gotten to him, which is sad. And I believe it's a lot of actors in Hollywood are being taken out at this time. If you sort of lost your stardom, it kind of different levels of what was, I don't even know. No, I gotta hit. What's going on here? Hello, guys. Oh, there we are. Oh, yeah, I'm technologically challenged here. I wish we could talk back and forth. Wouldn't that be great? And everybody's voices could be heard. That would be so phenomenal. I'd love to hear your voices and hear what your theories are and what you think about everything that's going on in the world right now. I think we all are so tuned in. We're so tuned in. It's almost scary. And I think it's like a hive mind thing. We're just like our eyes are completely wide open and we're seeing it all now. And there's no hiding it from us anymore. And I think there's a large population of us out there that are looking at the world in the same way. But it's a difference. Like, I know we see all this bleakness around us and we're saying, oh my goodness, how can we live in a place like this? But we're also seeing the beauty of it too. All the beautiful people that are coming together to say, hell no, not on my planet. This is not happening here. We're going to do something about it. We're going to make sure that everybody wakes up, and we're going to make sure that our sort of collective energy wipes this out. So, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I saw that video on Jim Carrey, which I think is really sad because he's Canadian, and Canadian comedians are deep in my heart because I love comedy, and I love, the Canadians that went, down south to work in Hollywood. We just lost Catherine O'Hara recently, and these are people that elevate, and that might be another reason why they got rid of them, because they elevate our vibration. We don't live in fear when they're in the room with us. We live in joy. We live in happiness. We giggle. I mean, that's got to be the highest vibration you can get. That and love is a good giggle with your girlfriends. That's definitely a huge vibration. So, yeah, so I think it's very sad that they've replaced them. And I don't think they do go through the bother of replacing anyone unless they've already gotten rid of them. Yeah, I think there was another. Who said it? Cat Williams, maybe? maybe, yeah, it sounds like it would be Cat Williams. He said, you got to go to Hollywood, you got to look at their neck, right? He's not talking about an Adam's apple. He's talking about the line that you would have with the full face mask, right? You can't hide it. I mean, maybe from a camera at a distance, but you can't hide it from somebody who's right on top of him. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about the Mandela effect because it kind of came to a discovery when I was sort of went down the rabbit hole of it just recently. And like I think people postulate there's like 5 different reasons the Mandela effect may be in effect. And I think I have a 6th one that I've kind of come up with. And I guess you guys probably know what the Mandela effect is. By a show of hands or ones, who knows what the Mandela effect is here in the room right now? If you could just type 1. Hun, do you know how to get rid of that? Or just to be able to type in there?
You click it.
So sign
and
in.
Then, and then you sign into your Google.
I don't want to do that right now. How do I go back? How do I just click out of it?
Hold on.
My daughter's helping me. I'm such a noob. Okay, what's going on? No, you don't close off the chat. You go, no, what's this?
Okay.
You have to go to the dock menu.
Yeah, and then you go to chat, and you reopen chat.
All right, never mind. It's just that I'd want to get rid of this because it's not scrolling.
It should scroll once people type.
Oh, okay. Okay, no one's typing then. I just wanted to ask if like people were here and I'm not getting a response, so are they not here? Usually I hit start streaming instead of go live. Is that the difference?
No, you're live.
Live? Nobody's saying anything.
There you go. See?
Oh, hi. Hello. All right, so I just wanted to ask if you guys wanted to talk about the Mandela effect, or did you want to talk about something else? Because I did do sort of a deep dive into the Mandela effect, because I do think it's kind of maybe affecting what's happening now in our world right now. Yeah, what I did find out was that, the Mandela effect is something where you have a memory of something so strong, like a movie quote or a movie that you saw that never in this timeline doesn't exist, that you have an idea of a logo that was different, maybe like the Fruit of the Loom logo. You also may remember, a business name being different, J.C. Penney with 2 N's instead of 1, things like that. And there's lots of theories onto why this may have happened, other than, if you put in Chat GPT, what's the Mandela effect? They just said it's a misremembering. But I went down the rabbit hole with Chat GPT today, and I asked them a few questions. Like, for example, I asked them about the Mandela effect with the movie Risky Business, where Tom Cruise lip syncs in his underwear and in a button-down shirt, and he slides across the floor with a microphone in his hand, and he's I think the song might be I can't remember what the song is. It's in my head, but I can't remember the name. And he slides across the floor, and so I said, what's the Mandela effect with that? And he said, well, people think it's Ray-Ban sunglasses, but it's just a standard pair of sunglasses. But that's not the Mandela effect at all. Even GPT was mistaken. The Mandela effect is that there are no, in this reality, there are no sunglasses on his face, and ChatGPT misremembered it itself. So that gave me an idea, and so I asked ChatGPT where I could find the yellow or orange seahorse emoji on my phone, and it explained to me where I could find it, and even said in between the fish and the octopus emoji. And then I went back and I did a Google search for the yellow emoji, and then OpenAI said there's no such thing. So I went back to ChatGPT and I put, copied and pasted OpenAI's response, and it said, "Oh, sorry, my mistake. You know, it's a ghost in machine sort of thing." And I was like, "What in the world is going on there?" Because how can an AI be wrong and misremember it if it didn't at some point exist in this world? So there are some extraordinary things that we found. And my one thing that I think is super extraordinary is anatomy, and how anatomy has changed from what we thought it was previous to what I believe to be possibly the event that caused this. Um, for example, I should explain like the 5 different things that people, their theories of why it happened as possible explanations of the Mandela effect. One, many people believe it was a timeline shift and alternate realities. Um, some memories are from a different timeline of reality, and then they split or merge with each other. So we may have converged with another timeline, and now they've blended together, and our memories are not the same as our neighbors because they're from that different timeline. The other option would be our dimension had collapsed and overlapped with another dimension. It's the idea that the universe briefly overlapped with a parallel dimension, leaving traces of our memory in this new dimension. So, what would be, for example, JFK? I have a memory of JFK. There's only 4 people in the car when he was assassinated. But in this timeline, this dimension, there was actually 6 people in the car, and it was a 6-seater car, which was completely blew my mind because I must watch the Zapruder tape like 100 times or more. So that's just crazy to me. The other theory is a simulation theory, which I think could be possible as well. So what the theory is there is that when we first started noticing the Mandela effect, people think that we live in a computer simulation, and it's an error or update that hit the simulation, and we ended up with glitches in the simulation. Like small spelling differences between product names, and historical events remembered differently, like possibly how many survivors survived on the Titanic. I know there's lots of people who think there were a lot more survivors than there actually were in this timeline. Another one is our consciousness, which I think is a big reality shift. So so that would be where I really fall into that category. I believe that we thought so much that the prophecy of 2012, of December 21st, so many of us thought that that actually was going to happen, that collectively our consciousness made that a reality. Um, the human consciousness collective, I believe, can shift perceptions of reality, rewriting details. For example, like Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Many, 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 many people think it's Mirror, Mirror on the Wall when Snow White is evil stepmother is talking to the mirror. But in reality, in this timeline, it's Magic Mirror on the Wall. And I know it's very similar, but it's so different when you hear it. It just doesn't ring true in your ear when you hear it because you heard it so many times in your childhood. But some other people think straight up as well that 2012 prophecy, this would be the 5th one. Um, that global shift happened because 2012 really did happen, and that we all had of there's a what's it called? Some people think they leave their body when they die. Like, for example, they remember they had an accident in a car, and then they wake up behind the wheel and they're fine, and they know that the car accident was too severe for them to have died, and they sort of jump timelines. And they jump a timeline to another body, and they inhabit that body. Some people will call that a walk-in, where you may be in your body, and then, like my twin sister, she had gone into surgery for hysterectomy. Um, she died on the table. They had to intubate her, had to get her heart beat back, had to do all these things. And she says, ever since then, she says openly, I'm a walk in. I'm not the same person I was before that surgery happened. So I believe that it could be a matter of 2012 really did happen, and we all sort of jumped into bodies of other dimensions. So this one was close enough to our timeline for that to be a possibility. Again, though, I really do think that, the number one thing probably could also be CERN. So the Mandela effect could be about CERN because it operates in the Large Hadron Collider. It's the largest particle accelerator. Some theorists claim that experiments at CERN might affect reality of the timeline. The Mandela effect is also evidence of changes in the fabric of space and time. So the large-scale particle collision could theoretically shift consciousness or our physical reality. So that is a possibility that could have been it. They also speculate the outcomes linked to CERN because the timeline shifts in its alternate realities sort of just play right into what this is supposed to do with CERN and experiment with. So like the Mandela effect itself, which is just basically how it was coined, was that if you're as old as I am, which is as old as the hills, I'm pretty ancient. I've been around since Jesus wore sandals, as they would say. Um, I remember in elementary school, they had a video of it, his funeral, and Mandela's. And in this timeline, he never died. He survived prison, but in my timeline, he died. I remember the dignitaries that were at the funeral. I remember his wife being there, and I do remember his wife taking on the presidency of Africa after he passed, which is something that never happened in this timeline. So there was a lot of details I was filling in to just misremember. You could say, oh, I just thought he died, but I have a lot of details to go along with that just doesn't make sense. So, that's a popular online claim that people think CERN, the LHC startup dates, increased it. And a lot of people think the reason why we feel like we're jumping back and forth into timelines, that something yesterday you thought was right isn't right today, and then next week it might switch it back. That CERN is doing many, many sort of experiments, and we're just flopping back and forth to different timelines. But I think it could be a matter of, I really do think it could be a matter of a lot of collective consciousness, really. Because if we believe something hard enough, I think we're able to shape our own reality. And if enough of the collective consciousness believes that, we get up tomorrow and everybody believes that the sky is going to be red, it's going to be red. And that's why I think a lot of this time right now, we're having a lot of everybody talking about World War III. Because I think this shadow government, I think they have to tell us what they're doing. But I also think that when they try to hint at something that's going to make us fearful, It actually helps us to make it a reality. Because if none of us can think of anything but World War III, that's going to become our reality. Just like when you get up in the morning, you think you're going to hit every red light on the way to work. You hit every red light on the way to work because you made that your reality. Yeah. So, but I really do think the most extraordinary Mandela effects are the Mandela effects of our anatomy and geography. Because really, I can misremember a movie quote. That's so easy. Life is like a box of chocolates. Um, interview with a vampire. Things like that. No, it's not life is like a box of chocolates now. It's life was like a box of chocolates. And that doesn't really even make sense. Because if you have someone quoting this to someone on a park bench and he's only in his 30s, maybe mid 30s at the latest, he would not use past tense to talk about his life. He would be talking in the present that right now and in the future, life is like a box of chocolates. So was doesn't even make sense. And, so even song lyrics, you know, um, how many people remember Queen's We Are the Champions? We are the champions, and we'll keep on fighting, 'cause we are the champions of the world. Right? That's how it works, of the world. Everybody, you could sing that, and that's exactly how you end it. But of the world is not in there anymore. It's not there. It doesn't exist. Not in this now, not in this dimension, not in this timeline. It doesn't exist. And I was in martial arts, like I told you, and that's what we would play on the way back from our competitions in the vans and the cars that we went over to the competitions in. We would, because we were the champions, we were like the number one school in the area, and we would come back with, the most medals and other things. And so we would play that on the way home, and we'd all sing it at the top of our lungs. So I have it deeply ingrained in me, and it finished with of the world. So, but I have a question for you all, because you all are super smart individuals. I want to ask you guys, what color were you taught in school was the color of your blood inside the body before it's oxygenated outside of the body? Can you guys type that in there? What color is the color of the blood inside your body? Okay, so I have an announcement for everyone as well from Auntie Bay and Angels in Taiwan. We were talking at a live, I think yesterday or the day before, about Hugo. Like everybody keeps telling me, Hugh. I'm just going to call him Hugh or Hugo. We were talking about him and what ways we could help him, because I really feel sick about the idea that I know this is happening to him, especially after hearing his screams in the last session I did. So we talked about ways we could help him. I think we came up with 4 or 5 different ways. They're pretty out there, but as I was saying in the live, you can't, you fight fire with fire, and you fight a thug with a thug. Really, you do. So I was saying, does anybody know any gangsters that might have been a fan of his? So we can send them over there and like bust up Chihao Museum and pull them out and smuggle them outside the country. I was like, does anybody know, um, does anybody know a thug that can go and maybe kidnap Chen Qi, the illegitimate son of Xi Jinping, and you know, use him as collateral. Like, saying, look, you'll have him back as soon as we get him back, and smuggle him out of the country. things like that. And I'm like, maybe everybody's a fan in the mainland, get them there to Chihao and riot in the streets until he's released. Things like that. I don't know. But we can't, I don't know. If we can't do these crazy things I've thought of, then we're going to be left with just watching the same thing happen to him that happened to Chen Duling and happened to, you know, Guo Chen, you know, and we would be, um, at least with Yu Meng Long, we didn't know about it till after it happened, you know. But the good news is that we were talking, and um, he Hugo has been, he's done the 3 withdrawals, and it's already been applications been put in, and it's just a matter of getting a confirmation back verifying. It should be coming in 3 days. So we've done that for him so that when they do this to him and he passes, he doesn't have the soul contract with them, so he can be free. Um, yeah, because I really do. So I finally listened to my Charlie Kirk um, session I did ages ago. I did Charlie Kirk for I think maybe when I just found out about Yu Men Long, because they died really almost at the same time, and I didn't because I encountered Yu Men Long's story. I just never reviewed the session, and I just reviewed the session because I was like, oh, I'm gonna do the Charlie Kirk session because I wanted to step away from the Chinese entertainment industry for a bit because it's been very, um, I think, a little traumatizing for me. Um, because I really feel like I can't do anything. I really feel like my hands are tied. So I listened to it, and I did find out what happened to Charlie Kirk. I did find out what happened to him. So according to Charlie, in 2012 he did sign contracts with them. He didn't realize what he was signing. He was really young. They really had an eye on him when he started showing how intelligent he was in elementary school, that he had to actually go to a special school because he was so very intelligent. Um, he and Erica did sign contracts. They decided when he would capitulate to them slightly. So he said 80% of his um, 80% of what he spoke of it were deep rooted beliefs in his core. He said, but he had to sometimes uh, put out their information and their agenda, and he started to say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. So they decided they were going to get rid of him and put Erica in as an alternative to push their narrative and their message. And in the end, she refused to do it as well. So they're both on the other side. There is a replacement for Erica here, and they're both very concerned of their children that are now in that system, that they have no control over helping them. They know that they'll be indoctrinated as well from an early age if they survive in that system. So, um, Charlie told me there were 2 shooters. There was an actual sniper, and then there was the young person that died. Uh, he said he couldn't hit the side of a barn if he had a bazooka. So, yeah, so that's what happened with Charlie Kirk. So, um, this is happening all over. It's not just happening, it's happening to politicians. It's all down to this reptilian Illuminati, whatever what you want to call them. They're going to come out. We're going to find out more and more about them over the next few years. They're no longer going to be able to hide. They're no longer going to be able to hide. But I also wanted to let you know too that there's in my session I had in the last few sessions, there's a Chen that's come up a lot of times. So I'm really going to dig deep to see who that is. But I think he's the next victim of sacrifice, or so I think it's a he because it says he, and I'm not sure who it is, but I have an idea who it might be. I'm going to make sure I look into it thoroughly before I put that out there. But I think he's already, from what I'm hearing on the sessions, that he's already being ritually abused. Anyway, so today I did something really, really interesting, just to change the subject a little bit because I hadn't even meant to talk about this today. I was just going to talk about Mandela effect, but today I did something exciting. I talked to Michael Jackson. So it was 25-minute session. So it's probably one of the longest ones I've ever done. And, I had to do a lot of research because I wanted to make sure every question I asked him was on point as to what the theory was as to why he left this world so early. And I'm going to be reviewing it tomorrow and the next day. I might release it in parts of 1, 2, and 3, or I might just put in all the answers that Michael Jackson says in this video in text, and then do as I did when I had a really long video with Yumeng Long earlier, where I put the results in another video where I talked about what he said. So I haven't decided which one I'll do. It depends on how much I get from Michael Jackson when I do review his what he said about the things that I've asked him. I tried to be very informative as well, because although many people know Michael Jackson, they don't know what the theories are as to why he died. So I may do a lot more talking in this one than I normally do, because many people know, what Yuman Long went through. So if I say, did they torture you and how long did they torture you, that's kind of given. But with Michael Jackson, their theory as to why they targeted him. And in the end, I did ask him about the children, because I said, no, I don't want to end this session with this, but I think I want to give you the opportunity to clear the air on the other side. I said one way or the other, because you know what? It could very well be they tried to destroy his reputation so they could destroy him financially, so that they could take over his catalog that was valued at $2 billion. You know what I mean? It could very well. Money is the root of all evil. So I did ask that. So when I review, I will let everybody know that as well. What about Jim Carrey? Punctums. I just posted on my page, on my community page, a video of Jim Carrey at an awards event where he's walking the red carpet and he's being interviewed, and it's 1000% not Jim Carrey. It's obviously someone in a full face mask. There's no pores when you look close, so that's a big sign. I know you have like lighting and filter and all that, but usually not on the red carpet do you have filters on it. You do have the lighting that makes you look better, but if you listen to him, not him. And you know how vocal he's been about Hollywood and what they do there. Throwing up the signs of the Illuminati on a night show, talk show, doing things like that. Making jokes about it, but they're dark humor jokes it's for real. So they didn't get rid of Jim Carrey when he was doing that, because everybody just thought, oh, that's Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey. He's might be a little wacky, and he's some things might not be right in his head. So they didn't get rid of him. But now that he's showing that he's been right all this time and he's still talking about it, now people have give him credence, and he knows a little too much. So the big thing about this Jim Carrey, as you'll see in the video if you go to my community page, it's totally different colored eyes. And there's no reason for Jim Carrey to wear contacts and shape eyes as well. Excuse me, guys, got a little bit of stuffed nose, but so so the thing is, here's what I don't know if everybody got a chance to watch the video about you. So I did on the video think that 3-3 meant the odds of his survival, and it was like a betting. How you have the odds of when you gamble on a horse. I thought it was that, but the 3-3 that's mentioned in my video, I think it's actually a date, because the third month, the third day of that month, which is March 3rd, and that is the night of the blood moon, which would it tracks. It tracks, because if you're superstitious and you're going to sacrifice someone to the NPC, which that's what I figured the reason why they're targeting him is because his birthday is on September 20th, 1982. And the NPC was created, which is a National Party Commission. I can't remember what the NPC stands for. That was created in 1954 on September 20th. And it really was kind of a constitution that was set in place to benefit the PLA, not really the people, but the PLA itself. So if you had a sacrifice, that you did Quantum 10, right? And you sacrificed him to the PLA because he was born on October 1st, that would make sense because of his birth date and the creation of the PLA on October 1st. But if that really didn't work out well for you, which obviously it isn't, look at what Xi Jinping's doing. He's going down hard. He's getting desperate now. So what is he going to do? Pull that other actor out of his back pocket to sacrifice him to try to turn the tide. And why does he want to do that? Because there's a deadline going on the 3rd and the 4th or something like that. They're going to have a huge meeting in Beijing, a political meeting, and it's going to decide his fate. So he's going to want to make sure he does this before then, especially if he's paranoid and, superstitious, because he wants to make sure that, yeah, it's a lunar eclipse. That's why it's a blood moon, because it'll appear red in the sky, right? And so was there a lunar eclipse on Yu Menglong's death date. So, and there was a super moon on Chengdu Links, and a super moon on Guanjun Chen's. So the moon is obviously a major part of this ritual. It's moon magic, for sure. Just like they're practicing sex magic, for sure, in these cults with the actors and actresses. They're trafficking them. So yeah, that's so the aside from doing illegal stuff and risking our lives, how can we help him? How can we help you? Unless we can smuggle him out of the country, because really, he's not going to come out now because they're going to keep him locked up until the event. He's not going to have any signing things or red carpets or fan meet and greets. He's not going to have those. If there is any of that, it will be a stand-in, which it did say in the last session that they've got my stand-in ready. So They have someone who's going to be wearing a mask with the same sort of body type, going to strut around for a little bit, just like the fake for Gunjin Chen, and then they're going to slowly disappear when they're not making the money anymore because they don't have half the charisma, half the talent, or half the. You can tell when you look at these people. You can look at them and you can see the spark's not there. The thing that drew you to them in the first place just isn't there. Just like you look at Jim Carrey and he's looking like he's saying all the same things. His voice is similar, but you can see there's the spark's gone from the eyes. The charisma and the what you loved about them is gone because they're not the same person. So yeah. So well, here's what I think is going to happen in the next few years. They're going to push for a world war because, boy, there was they tried what they tried with COVID because they wanted to had an agenda in mind. But that failed spectacularly because they released us from our daily grind and we're able to finally stop the merry-go-round and think about um, ourselves for a minute, um, what our goals were, what our plans were. And it opened our eyes, or opened our eyes to a lot of things. We got off of the hamster wheel, the one where you constantly have to be working on a project and a deadline and a budget and this, that, and the other thing at your job, and then you have to race home and make dinner, and then you have to, get the lunches ready for tomorrow, and you got to so and so has soccer, so all that. This just keeps you blind to what's going on around you because you have no time to look around you, not a moment of peace. And we finally were able to sit down, get in our own heads, and breathe. And it backfired on them because we started to see what was really going on around us. Now they're trying to do the same thing. They're going to try to create fear in us with a third world war. Many, many, many psychics, many, many remote viewers are talking about mushroom clouds and nuclear stuff this year in 2026. They're just seeing mushroom clouds and they're remote viewing. They're getting the impression that a nuclear bomb will be set off either on purpose or accidentally. And I do get the impression that in my sessions, I keep hearing the sonar sweep. It could be a ship or it could be a submarine. And I do see Xi Jinping going down. But before they can get rid of him, I do think he's going to make some flip the table move. Um, so let's all pray that on March 3rd and 4th, the elders grow a set of balls and get rid of them. And because really, he's bringing the whole system down. He's taking it all down. And we should all be applauding that. Yes, but in the meantime, he's going to be causing a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Yeah. What Meng Long mentioned, to continue to shine light no matter. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so he did say that. He said, you know, turn towards the light. He said to me, turn towards the light. Because he knows that if we turn inward or into darkness, we're only feeding them. Because that's what they live on. That's our energy source. They live on our energy source. For example, you're seeing the Epstein files now, and you're seeing actors and actresses' names and singers' names coming up in the Epstein files. And you're seeing names like Lady Gaga and stuff like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, no, I should have known, right? Beyonce and stuff like that. They throw up the Illuminati sign, the triangle, around the eye, things like that. But, didn't Lady Gaga go wear a meat dress at some point? To the Met Gala or some sort of hoity-toity event. And how do we know for sure that meat was actually from an animal? Especially after some of the heinous things we've been reading in the emails. We don't know that. It could have very well been human meat dress she was wearing to signify how deeply rooted she is in this cult. And, um, we can't say that for sure. And we don't know how much they know anyway. I mean, these actors and actresses and singers and politicians may not know the full extent of what they're doing. Um, they may be blackmailed to get what they want from them. But all of them, in doing what they do, sign a contract. They're saying, "I'm complicit with this. I'm in like Flynn with this." But it's the same thing for us, though. Um, if we sort of know that Lady Gaga has been implicated in this, and then we still listen to her music, and we give money to her concerts, and we do this and we do that, it's like we're complicit as well. We're saying we're okay with what's going on. And it's like giving them permission to behave in the way they do. And look at poor Jean Cook. I mean, he just went out on a live recently and he's melting down. He's melting down, and Lord knows what kind of pressure he's under on the other side. The Korean, I think it's a trilateral sort of um, trilateral sort of industry in Asia of China, Japan, and Korea. Because in the readings from psychics and from what Yu Long said to me in session, it brings up a lot of foreigner, Japanese, um, sort of Korean attitudes of hierarchy and hierarchy of importance. So it's kind of putting them all three countries and putting them together in this. So I think they're all interlocked together. So I just realized something. Shoot, I forgot to ask Michael Jackson something. Someone said they thought they saw Michael Jackson's form in the as well as Kobe Bryant's in the plastination exhibit. And I'm like, really? No way. But I forgot to ask Michael Jackson if his body is a part of the exhibit. Because who knows? Who knows? Um, I think there's so many options or opportunities out there to clone people. I think there's different ways they go about taking people out. So, like, for example, Matthew Perry, he was part of Friends. He had huge fandom when Friends was, going on. But later on, his star dimmed. He wasn't as popular. And, he was controversial when he was on Friends, um, saying whatever he wanted to say about this, that, or the other thing. And he got away with it because his star shone pretty bright. But as he became more um, obscure, they just killed him. They just killed him off. Come on. Like, he died in hot tub. Like, who dies in hot tub at a young age? We got to start putting our thinking brains on, our thinking caps. Like, who falls off a building when they're not 5 years old? You know what I mean? How many people have fallen off of a building in China? Look at all the generals. They purged 19 generals from the NPC, or deputies. They're not all generals. Some are admirals. Two are admirals. They purge people that are retired. But guess who they haven't purged and kicked out of the NPC? Zhang Yuxia and the other guy, Li Guy. And that just shows one of two things. The two options is they can't because she's got opposition to kicking them out of the NPC, or second, they don't have to because they know they're dead. So there's no reason to kick them out because you don't have to kick out a dead deputy. So there's one or two options there. So they had that vote today. Um, that meeting today that took these 19 deputies out, and so that was Xi Jinping's last chance if he was going to get approval to get Zhang Yuxi out of the NPC. He wouldn't have to prove that it was, he wouldn't have to say, okay, well, I moved illegally against him because he's not an NPC member that's protected anymore. But he couldn't do that. That didn't happen today. So all of this is going to count on the March 3rd and 4th meetings. And we're going to watch that very closely because a lot of, part of my French, shit is going to go down there. It's going to go down. And I can't wait to see if they finally get the strength to oppose Xi Jinping. They should. They should if they have any sense, but they're all just running scared right now because he's too unpredictable. He's like a loose cannon on a ship. A loose cannon. You know what that saying comes from. So if you were on a schooner or like a naval ship in the sailing days, and you had a loose cannon, and your cannon, when you hit a wave hit you, knocked a hole in the side of the ship, you're dead. You went down with the ship. So it wasn't like, that's pretty serious. The loose cannon is a pretty serious thing, and that's what he is. He's totally unpredictable. He's the one that would burn the house down, you know, burn a house down to sort of warm himself up. He doesn't care. So he certainly doesn't care about the people of China. He only cares about himself. I think he would even sell his own children. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the Mandela, I think, all has this. This is all tied together. I think it's crazy when people go, "It's all connected. It's all connected," but it really is. It really is all connected. It's us. It's us going through all of these major historical events like COVID, like 9/11, and the collective consciousness reacting to it, the hit on our psyche. And because we're such powerful beings who create the reality around us, we end up with, like, really, we don't know. I think maybe 9/11 was 2001, right? Maybe that was where everything kicked off with Epstein. I think they met Ghislaine and him met in 91. Who's to say when they really got into this society and started building? What was I going to say? Now, my session with Epstein, um, my impression was that he was not the brains of the operation. He was a pervert. He liked young girls. He was charged with that twice in, I think, 2000 and 2005. He liked that. Ghislaine Maxwell was his boss, really. She was the one that was go-between between these the Rothschilds and the people that are doing this. The Illuminati, I guess you'd call them, the shadow government. Um, he was, she was the one that planned all it, did all the paperwork and stuff like that. And she took that knowledge from her father, Robert Maxwell, was well known for being a spy with the CIA, MI6, Mossad, FBI. His whole house was covered in cameras and recording equipment, so that if you did anything when he had a party, he had something on you. So he taught his daughter to work these parties from like Shirley Temple age, you know, and Lord knows what happened to her at these parties. And so what she learned is how to manipulate people from an early age, and um, there was no um, moral sort of compass there. It was just like, how do you get this out of this person, and how much do you get out of them? And so that's what she learned from an early age. And her father was no saint. I mean, he ended up dying mysteriously on a yacht, naked, in the middle of nowhere. Supposedly he was alone. Air quotes you can't see. Um, and before that, he was being charged with embezzling the pension funds of all of his employees. So it's to the tune of like $400 million. So yeah, she was persona non grata in the UK at that time. It would be how gauche to have her at your party. So she went to New York, and they used each other. They used each other. She used him and he used her, but she was the brains of the operation, for sure. No sound? You can't hear me? But you guys can't hear me, no sound. Um so I had Sue Adams saying no sound. Can you guys hear me? Who did the paperwork? I don't think there was much of a paper trail, even in the says Annie. Who did the paperwork? No paper trail, only in the emails, and the emails were deeply coded. Did you see Elon Musk's emails? And Epstein's responses? Oh my gosh, Elon Musk is so autistic, man. He did not read the nuance or in between the lines at all. And in the end, after sending many emails to Epstein just started to ignore him, because there was nothing. Like, at one point, Epstein had to say, hey, look, I don't even like saying this word, but he's like, hey, retard, I'm telling you. He's telling him straight up in sort of coded language he could come to a party. Austin was not getting it. It's like, I'm a very busy man. I don't need to go to a gala or donate, for this organization or that organization. And he just wasn't getting it. So I think Elon might be the only one that wanted to go to a party, didn't get invited. And in that case, he's completely innocent of all charges. Um, not guilty by not associating it. Instead of guilty by association, not guilty by not association. Oh man. Um so yeah, did Michael Jackson today. I might put up Charlie Kirk's session, or I might not. I think it might be a little too politically explosive, but I may put it up in future. I'm really excited about delving into what Michael Jackson said, because I think I heard his voice a couple of times, which is really kind of exciting. He has a very sort of distinct voice, and I don't know if you guys ever heard him at one award show. He actually used his real voice, which was surprisingly deep. And you know what? I think now it's so much like Felix, from Stray Kids, how he can get that really high kid voice, the cutesy voice, and then like low voice on top of that. So yeah, that was Michael Jackson. He actually caught himself. He started talking in his normal voice like this, and he's like, "Hello, everyone," you know. So I wanted to ask you guys about the anatomy of the Mandela effect, though. So, guys, since you seem to be hearing me okay, no one said that. Um, cut off again. What's cut off again? Who was cut off? Am I being interrupted on the live? Because someone's saying they've been cut off. And I wouldn't doubt it, because every time I jump on a live with Ty Williams, I'm immediately thrown out, or her her live glitches and completely stops, or nobody can hear her, and it's just as soon as I get in there, and she's like, like they don't want to see us together, right? um Mandela, Nelson Mandela, HIV AIDS related illness. After I said Michael Jackson, oh, they might not want me to want me to tell about Michael Jackson, because that would go all the way into the music industry, wouldn't it? I am going to maybe have to resort, which I normally don't, to be saying allegedly a lot, because um, the music industry, I think, might be even scarier than the shadow government. Um, they are straight up mobsters. What was I going to say? But did you hear that they're actually, which I did I tell you about the story where I saw this video once of this story about an island where they had millionaires hunting people, and they were homeless people, and they would grab the homeless people off the street and say, "Come with us for the week, and we're going to pay you $5,000 or whatever, and it'll be a brand new start for you." And so, of course, they jump at the chance, because who wouldn't? If you were on the street now, you could have enough for first and last. You can maybe get a hotel room, have a shower, or have as much money as you wanted to do whatever drugs you wanted, right? Wow. So this had been going on for a while. They even had a leaderboard where you would have the name of the millionaire, and he would be at the top of the leaderboard with X number of kills. And these people would be like homeless old people, young people, maybe even children. And one time they went out and they picked up a homeless man, and guess what he was? He was an old ex Marine, ex beret, Green Beret, something like that. You know what I mean? This guy was battle ready and trained. And they brought him over to this island. And he was like, hell no, I'm not dying here. He took out like so many people on that island, and then swam to the shore from the island, and then called the police, and the police were able to save every other person on that island. They all got off alive. All these homeless people got out of there alive because of him. And the people actually went to jail. I don't know if they ever went, like they were taken in, but I really don't think that these elite people go to jail. Because when I was reading about an actress, the actress that did, oh my gosh, it was Korean, it was Chinese, it was Japanese, I think it was even Vietnamese. It was a story that used to be a manga. It was like flowers with four guys, and it's always like the little poor girl, and the four guys are super rich and like run the school, and they're terrible, and one of them falls in love with her. Flowers before something, I don't know. Anyway, so there's a girl in Korea that did that lead role, and she committed suicide, supposedly. I'm going to say supposedly about that, because a lot of these suicides turn out not to be. Um, because she was being passed around by every CEO in the country, and they were selling her. And she actually wrote a list of like every guy that they sold her to, pretty much. And they were all influential CEOs and politicians and so on. And she hung herself at her home after talking to her sister. And the police had the list. Not one of the people on the list ever saw a courtroom or police station. Her manager, or the person that had been selling her, was in Japan and refusing to come back. But he did eventually come back, but he only served less than 2 years for what he did to her, and not another person was charged with anything. And I mean, this was a person that was, A-lister. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as you have money and power, you're nothing to them. We are vermin. We're vermin. Like people, like everyday people like us. But there's good news because right now the shift is happening. The 99%, it's shifting. That's why we're opening up and we're seeing what everything's going on. And I think it's probably going to be by 2030 we're going to have the New World event. And, you won't have to be a spiritualist. You won't have to be someone who fasts for 40 days or believes and goes to church or whatever. As long as you're a good person, your frequency will be the right frequency to put you on in the dimension that's nothing like this. And it's going to happen. It's happening now. Boys over flowers, that's it. Wasn't that lovely? I loved all of those renditions. Like, who was it that did the Chinese one? Dylan Wang was the male character with the spiky hair. He did a good job of it too. And the female actress in the Chinese version, she was phenomenal. I loved her. When she kicked him in the head, that was so nice. But they're just this, and they're talking now about, look at like Obama. But not too long ago, he said, "Yeah, sure, there's aliens." I think they're using that as a distraction right now, though. I think they're going to start pushing that narrative so we're distracted from the Epstein files. But I think they're ready to let us know they're out there, and we're one step away from finding out if we're able to believe the little green alien men from Mars or whatever. We're not too far from finding out about the reptilians. And I don't know if they're interdimensional, out of worldly beings, or they're time travelers. Think about this. We had dinosaurs roaming the earth, right? We sort of came from an evolution of single celled organisms in the water and kind of evolved from that. But if they had dinosaurs, and let's say the dinosaurs didn't die, as everybody says, with the meteor, what would they evolve into? Would it be reptilians with a large brain and still like a we do have in our brain, we have the reptilian brain in our brain, right? Maybe aliens or time travelers too. Who knows? Maybe they're us in the future. Look at the little, like, what are they, the grays, right? Look at the grays. What are they? They're like little fragile things with spindly arms and spindly legs with big bellies, big eyes, no mouth, hardly any mouth, tiny nose. Was Did you guys ever see the evolution of man, of the sort of, they artists drew a rendition of what we'll look like in 20 years or 30 years after sitting in front of a computer so much? Our eyes would be larger. Our physiques would not be muscular anymore, because who needs muscles to move around, because nobody's doing it? Very little talking with each other, so why would we need a big mouth? So you know what we ended up starting to look like? The Greys. So maybe in the future that's what we look like. Unless we can decide we're going to put all that aside and we're going to start actually living in the real world instead of trying to disassociate with the products that we buy and the games that we play and the movies we watch and the series that we binge on. Right? Shen Yu is one of my favorite Chinese actresses. Yes, that's the Korean woman that supposedly killed herself, right? Is that Meteor Garden or was that Flowers? Because Meteor Garden was the Chinese one, right? Yes. Yeah, and someone says, I'm sure even, so Annam says, I'm sure even child Korean actress Kim Se-won had to go through a lot, not just actor Kim So-hyun. There's a lot hidden that we don't know. Oh my gosh, I swear there's so much we don't know. But if you guys really start to listen to someone named Elizabeth April on YouTube, she's a remote viewer. She really is tuned in to what's happening. She remote views everything: people, places, timelines, past lives. I think, she's tuned into the idea that I know is that a lot of our trauma in this life and our phobias are connected to past life traumas. And, we have to let go of um, generational sort of traumas that we pass on over and over again from ourselves to our children. We got from our parents and they got from their parents. And a lot of people are worrying for the children right now that are in this timeline, and they should be. But you have to understand too that these little warriors came here. They signed on to come here to increase the frequency and the vibration of this planet. So they knew what they were signing up for. And they were like, put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. I'm coming. And so we're seeing these poor children. They're being brutalized by these horrible things, but they're part of the massive awakening that's happening. And they've gone back over to source when these things happen to them, and they have their time to heal, and they can choose to reincarnate again here or go on to another location to reincarnate. So that's what's going to happen when we do the sort of massive 2030 thing. Hopefully, if we stay on this timeline, um, and nothing sort of diverts us from it. Um, so I see like a major event causing us to realize a major Mandela effect happening in 2030. Like, for example, you wake up one morning and there's two suns in the sky. And after the news tries to convince you you're seeing things, you realize you're not. That sort of event. And it kind of makes everybody go, oh, nothing is as concrete as we thought it was. It's got to be what I thought all along, that we make the world that we live in, that we're living in a simulation. Um, there's other timelines, other dimensions, things like that. And it's going to open everybody's eyes. And a major event's going to happen, and they're going to say, okay, do you want to stay here? Want to move to the new earth? Or do you want to just let your existence go and reincarnate on another planet? So you're going to pass on and reincarnate in another dimension or another time or another planet. And I really think too that this is going to sound crazy. I think there's like not enough souls for all these times because time is not linear. I think you can actually reincarnate into the past if you wanted. I really do. Can you imagine that? I die today and I can decide to go to, what would I decide? I would not decide anywhere as a woman, that's for sure, in the past. In fact, I was at university and we were talking about history, and the professor said something about, when would you like? Well, it's probably introductory um, lecture, and just feeling us out as to what timeline in history we most liked, and turned to me and said, what time would you like to go back to if you could? And I said, none of them. And that blew the professor away. Why would I want to do that as a woman? We were not very welcome in the past. You want to talk about suppressed society? Women throughout the ages have been suppressed. Not being able to own land, not being their own person, being traded like chattel, you know, not being, infantilized because they didn't have agency for themselves, you know. So, but what timeline would you guys go to if you could? I would, maybe as a man, I would go to the Renaissance period. I would want to meet, no, maybe I'd like to meet Da Vinci. I really would. I'd like to work with Da Vinci, see how his brain worked. I think he was really tuned in, for sure. So, I guess that's all the news fit to burn, guys, unless you want to talk about something else. I don't want to keep you guys for as long as I normally do. Um, but I mean, I'm going to be working really hard in the next couple of days on Michael Jackson. I think I'm going to probably break it into one or three or two parts so that I can put something up tomorrow and then something up the next day. Um, yeah, but I have a feeling he's going to tell me a lot of interesting things about what happened with the with his death, because he was not quiet about his struggles with Sony Entertainment. He was actually outside petitioning outside Sony early on. He would go to events and with billboards, and he'd buy billboards to put Tony Mottola as the devil and things like that on him. He would wear placards around him when he went to music events, saying Sony is racist and stuff like that. So yeah, he was not very quiet about his hatred for them. So I would not be surprised if he's going to be saying what he wants to say in this, for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, the Renaissance period, because I'm so curious about Da Vinci. I really am. Or I'd like to meet Tesla too, because I think he probably had some alien visits, because he just had too much knowledge about the inner workings of, just like even his saying, if you want to understand the universe, just think in the matter of energy, frequency, and vibration, is just telling me that he was tuned in to some sort of force that told him these things. Like if it wasn't for Edison and J.P. Morgan and all and them, we would have free energy right now, because Tesla had created electricity that came from the air, really. And the reason we do have electricity is because AC, DC current, right? So, but they had to monetize it, just like on so many things, right? Yes. Yep. That's why they painted him as a crazy person. Oh, I love pigeon, and things like that. And that's. Are you talking about? Are you talking about Tesla? Or are you talking about Michael? Oh, the industry. Yes, I did ask him that straight up. I said, did they? In the end, I went back on because I realized after listening to it, um, I hadn't asked that. Did they do that to him deliberately? And so I'm really eager to hear the answer to that. It's right at the end of my session with him. I said, oops, I forgot to ask, I'm sorry to ask you this, but did they start a smear campaign on you to ruin you so that they could financially ruin you so they could have leverage to wrestle the catalog off of him? Oh, Michael Jackson's daughter. Yeah, that I didn't ask about his children at all. I only asked him if he was mad that they had sold, purchased the catalog for a fraction of its worth from the children after he died. Because at that point in 2006, it was estimated that catalog's value was about $2 billion. And that was 2006. When Michael died in 2009, and I think the catalog was purchased like in 2012. So the value obviously would have gone up, and they only offered the children 750 million for it. So they made out like bandits, and they also made a lot of money off of him dying. Because I mean, album sales went through the roof. Like I think it was a 1 billion worth of sales in the first year after his death. And that was just in album sales alone. Never mind merchandise, never mind the the documentary they put out. This is it, from the snippets of his. Okay, anyway, my theory is that all of that was set up far too quickly after he passed. I mean, it was a matter of days before they had these things set to go to sell. Now, if you know anything about business, even the smallest businesses, it takes much longer than that to have contracts ready and distributors and this, that, and the other thing. It's a big whoop-de-doo. And to have it all ready to go within days of his dying seems very sus to me. So, yep, that's just my opinion. Anyway, so I wanted to ask you guys, I want to tell you what some of these strange Mandela effects are. Do you guys think it's misremembering, or do you think it might be more? Because this is one of the blue blood is the anatomy one, which really got me. Because if you ask anyone who went to school at my age, your blood was blue until it came out of your body. When it touched the oxygen, then it turned red. Is that what you guys already know from your schooling years? What color do you think the blood is inside the body? No, no, no. Human blood has always been red, and it becomes a darker red without much oxygen and a bright red with oxygen. So we always thought blue inside the body, bright red when it reaches oxygen. The heart location. Can you guys tell me where you think your heart is when you studied basic anatomy in elementary and junior high? Your heart location. Would you say it was on the left side? How many times a week do I plan to go on live? I think maybe 2 times a week, if I can manage it. I think that would be all I could really. I don't think you guys would want to hear from me more than 2 times a week. I'd probably be saying the same things over and over again. I'm not very cultured in that way. I'm not very knowledgeable about lots of things. I do like to read a lot. I like to do deep dives into things like the Mandela effect and, you know, time slips and all kinds of paranormal stuff. That's my jam. I love the unexplained. I don't necessarily like the, what is it? True crime things. My sister loves it. I go over to her house and she's got it blaring on the TV, and I just hear, he bludgeoned her 300 times. And I'm like, cringe. No, thank you. I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about how her husband buried her in the backyard in 5 different pieces. No, thank you. But I do love like supernatural shows, paranormal shows, ghost hunting shows, things like that. I was a big fan of like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. I don't watch much of that anymore though. I love shows that talk about paranormal stuff. Um, I so I do delve in. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts. So I listen to Mysterious Universe. They're from Australia, and they've stopped. Well, they've stopped. The 2 guys who originally did it stopped, and 2 other guys have taken it over. I listen to the Y Files on YouTube. I really like him because he does a deep sort of dive and of what could be true and how it might not be true. He just like takes it from both angles. Um, yeah, I love it. I love listening to like Campfire and podcast and Monsters Among Us. It talks mostly about cryptids and other things. Um, I just like to realize there's very, oh my gosh, you know what I'm really diving into right now? There's this woman from Australia. Her name is Dolly. She has a YouTube channel called, oh shoot, is it Kineton? Kineton, Paranormal. And she does the Estes method. Have you guys ever heard of the Estes method with EVP? It's really amazing. I think it first started coming about a few years ago. What happens is you would get a spirit box like SP11 or SP7. Um, I couldn't do it with mine because I built mine and it's not built that way. I built mine from scratch. But if I got an SP7 or 11 and I sat there with headphones on and they were noise canceling headphones, I would just hear what spirit is telling me. So you would have another person on the other side of the room talking with spirit, and they would be asking the questions. And I couldn't hear their questions because, first of all, if I had it full volume with the static, that would drown them out to begin with. But if it was like noise canceling as well, there'd be no way I could hear them. And I would have my back turned to them so I couldn't see their mouth move and sort of subconsciously know what they're saying. And so let's say I would be asking spirit question and my sister Amanda would be sitting in another chair with her back to me saying the words that came up through the static. So this woman, um, she's based in Victoria, Australia. Yes, I think so. And she's phenomenal. Dolly is so cute. She just like, hello dear, how are you? You know what I mean? It's good to see. Come on, pull a chair up. I've got some tea for you. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's not an Australian accent, but she's so, I just love her. I just love her. And she's just recently did like the woman that went missing, Guthrie. Guthrie, I can't remember what her first name is. I'm just like, but the most amazing thing I heard her talk about is like 4 different times she talked to people who sort of went missing at sea with boats that sort of were empty with no explanation and finding out they were creatures that crawled from the deep and pulled them overboard. And they were describing what sounded like horrific mermaids. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. So I'm really, really loving her channel. I hope you all go and visit her and see what it's all about. Maybe we could get her to do a session on Yumen Long. Wouldn't that be awesome? I think I think she has a special talent and she gets mediums to be on the other side of the Estes method, listening to the EVPs. So they're not only picking up EVPs, but they can see the person as well when they come in the room. Nancy Guthrie, that's right. So check her out. I think you love some of her videos, especially the ones that talk about. She did one with vampires. She did one with werewolves. She talked about vampires and werewolves with Ed and Lorraine. Ed and Lorraine. What's their last names? Why am I blanking? Ed and Lorraine Warren. Warren. That's pretty awesome. She was interviewing Ed and Lorraine Warren, and Ed said vampire, and she goes where? And he goes outside. It's asking for permission to come in, and she's like, totally not. You're not allowed in here. Nope, I'm not inviting vampires in. So yeah, I'm like, wow. I like to do the deep dives into EVP, but she really sort of has fun with it, you know? I'm more of like the librarian EVP professional, and she's like the skipping on the schoolyard EVP specialist. Um, so yeah, I really feel like my family is going through the ringer right now, though. My nephew that I told you guys about, um, that had a tumor removed from his brain, is having a hard time now. He doesn't know if the effects that he has now are permanent, and he's in a deep depression. And then I found out my other nephew was just found yesterday on his bathroom floor, unresponsive, and they don't know what's happened to him. He's in a medical coma now and intubation, and we'll find out tomorrow what happened. But so I think that this. Then I found out a good friend of the family died suddenly. So I think we're going to find this year, people. It's going to happen. And this is why I think it's happening. I think that young people, old people, people you never thought were going to go are going to go because they're seeing the world right now. Our eyes are opening, and these light bringers, these people that came here like you, Meng Long, to shine a light in the shadows. A shadow can't survive in that light, into this darkness, so we could see really what was happening. They're going to choose to go. They're going to choose to go early. So they're going to just suddenly die inexplicably in their sleep, or behind the wheel of a car or whatever. It's their soul is going to say, it's not even like they do it consciously. They're going to be like, they're going to be here, and they're going to say, oh, I've done my work. It's not even going to be a depressed thing or suicidal thing. It's just about them saying, yep, like when you're working your career for 40 years, and you're like 5 years away from retirement, and you're like, nah, I'm not doing another 5 years. I'm outie. You know, I've had enough. I'm good. And you go and you just retire early, or you pick up doing something else that doesn't make as much money because it doesn't fulfill you anymore. So you're going to have like a lot of people doing that. And we're going to have a lot of people that have a lot of losses, and they're going to think it's a bad thing, but it's not. It's not really a bad thing at all. Because I know for certain that they go on the other side and they're with their ancestors, and they're with family that loves them. And you Meng Long's over there now, and he's with his mother, and he's with people that love him. You know what Hugh said to me that was really sad in the last session? He said this verbatim: Meng Long was surrounded by people, but he was always alone. And he's not that way anymore. So we can want to fight for him. We can want to get him justice. We can want to save the people that are suffering now because of these individuals. But it's not just in China. This is just a portion. China. You've been long opened our eyes to what's happening in China. It's the same thing that's happening all over the world with the Epstein files. They're all connected. The the shadow government is putting these games on all over the world. They said so in the sessions. There's 87 locations around the world. I don't know if that's a location in 87 different countries, or there's just total 87. That's a lot of locations. And they said 400 people can die in a matter of a few days. And then a king, like I was saying in the live stream with Auntie, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Bay, um, that they were talking about we found out where the airport is and where the hangar is. Did you guys know that? We found the address, and we're going to have people go and check it out to see what kind of activity is going on. We're sleuthing this stuff. We're sleuthing this shit. We're trying to find Hugh. We're trying to find where they're keeping the other actors and actresses so that we can get them out of there somehow. We're not going to sit on our hands any longer, right? So, we were talking about the location of this. It's in Tianjin, and I looked at it on the map, and it's secluded, but it's also very close to transport stuff, you know? And I was thinking that might just be it because do Jed uh, owns a company which is an import and export company, right? And it's the spirit box said he was down in Brazil at some point. And I'm like, what would he be doing in Brazil? But then when I looked at it, Brazil is the second largest country that children go missing in the world. We all know what the first largest is, right? No, it's not America. It's China, right? Second largest. No, actually, you're right. Just because of the sheer volume, it's America. Third largest is Brazil. Okay, could Du Chang be going down there with Hercules size airplanes and transporting thousands of children back to China for these events, for these elite, for these occultists, for this shadow government, for the reptiles? Absolutely, he could. And absolutely, I could see him doing it. And you know what I think? Remember how I said that when you look in their eyes, they don't look human? I think that's another thing, too. That's another way they take over somebody. For example, you may have an actor or actress come back from a hiatus and you look in their eyes and they look like vamped. They look like they're no longer there, right? And it could be MK Ultra sort of reprogramming, but it also could be like Elizabeth April says, they could be taking their souls out of their body and putting a reptilian soul in there. So no longer is that person Du Chang that grew up who maybe liked puppies when he was younger, but now he's this reptilian monster inside of the Du Chang meat suit, walking around doing heinous things with no remorse whatsoever. Just like Fan Shiki, you know? And you look in their eyes and you're like, oh, there's not an ounce of humanity in there. You don't have to be psychic to see it. Yeah. Okay, dream, I feel you. Many people think about you. I don't know what that means. But so that's another thing too. So you could have, so you know how Guo Chen said to me that he came out of his body, right? And he watched um, a demon crawl up him and devour his soul. Now, when he came out of his body, right, that was a portion of his spirit that goes back to source and connects to spirit. Think of it as a root soul on the other side. Think of it as a root soul. Then you have a little piece of your spirit as well as the soul that travels to the other side and your soul, once it gets to the other side, goes through a life reflection and it decides if it's going to reincarnate right away or not. If it's if it's going to reincarnate to Earth or another location, you know what I mean. Um, and someone asked me to ask you whether he reincarnated, and you know what? I don't want to. I don't want to. You want to know why? Because I think if he chose to reincarnate on this planet, I don't want to give those guys any clue as to where he might be or what that they might want to start looking for him again. I hope you guys can understand that. I wanted to protect his soul, and I will not allow them to hurt that soul again. So even if he does tell me, I will never tell anyone. Okay? So you guys can. I've had a few people ask me to ask that question. I won't ask it. Okay? Because I don't even want to know. I don't want to know because I somehow may give them that information through someone who does remote viewing. So I'm just going to say, yes, definitely you know what you're talking about, Dora. It's a monad soul, yes. Yeah, and the demiurge, right? The demiurge could be what we're dealing with. Dora, you know what the demiurge is, right? So that may be the organization, the archons, right? So yeah. So yeah, this is I'm I'm just so happy for us to be able to get together. I just love getting on to Auntie Bay's lives because there's so many. I can't understand a word she's saying. I can't understand it. But I just see the energy of people trying to do something to help people, trying to um, do everything they can because we're human. And thank God, you know what? I hate to think that these heinous things being done are, I'm scared to think it's done by what we might not understand. Something so scary we can't even put it into words or conceptualize it. But I would be more scared to think it's humans actually doing that. That the human race could get so bad. So I think the underlings, the ones that are doing henchmen, are tricked into doing what they're doing because they don't know what they're dealing with. It's like the Freemasons, right? You have different levels of the Freemasons. You have to get to a certain level until you really realize what the Freemasons are. You when you just start when you join the Freemasons, all you know about them is their name. You have to go up level after level after level, and then things are revealed to you. Just like um, Skull and Bones, just like that. Like there's so many different levels of this demiurge that's on this planet that rears its ugly heads in these little organizations that are around the world, and they just exploit human beings for their energy. Straight up, I know it's their energy. Yeah. So there's 18. It says 18 people are trapped. 17 people will play. Now I think that might be that not one of them is not playing. I think that she was talking about himself. Do you know what I mean? Like that's where the discrepancy between 18 and 17 comes into my message and there. I think he's just not counting himself, you know. Yes, I think okay. I do too. I do too. I want him to ascend. I think he deserves to ascend, but I don't think from understanding everything that he went through, um, really honestly, I have to tell you something. I've done EVP sessions with some pretty heinous people, and they're not different on the other side. They're not different. Look at when I did Epstein. He was belligerent. He was like, he bragged about young girls. Do you know what I mean? He was not remorseful in the least. So Yu Ming Long was able to get through what he went through because he chose that mission, that path, that soul challenge, I guess you would call it. And he did that with iron will. He had an iron will. They could not break him. They could not break him. So I don't see that type of personality going to the other side and deciding to rest on his laurels and just watch it all play out. I see him saying directly after going on the other side, put me in, coach. I've got a job. I went in there to start and now I got to finish it. So I probably okay. Yeah, I'm getting too emotional right now. But I see him going right back in. I see him taking that front seat on the roller coaster and saying, "Hell yeah, get me in there. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to safeguard those kids. I'm going to make it happen that no other child is hurt, you know? I think that's what hurt him the most. Not what they did to him, but what they did to the children hurt him the most. Because when I did a session with him, he ended with the session saying, the spirits ended with the session talking for him, and it was the session with his mother. When I asked the questions about his mother, he couldn't answer and he stepped away. The spirits jumped in to answer for him. And in the end, they said, Hugh loved the children he taught in Yunnan. So, he honestly loved those children, probably like they were his own. And I'm sure he would have loved to be a father and to have a normal life where he could have had a wife that he came home to and children that he could watch playing in the backyard. And he would have been a terrific father. Imagine, he would have been such a soft-spoken father, joked around with them, been a little kid with them, probably dressed up and had tea parties with his little girl. You know what I mean? Worn little frilly hats and things like that. I could just see him doing that. And so now he has a chance. If he reincarnates, he's probably not going to choose the life path that he chose last time. He's probably going to be someone here that's just going to be an everyday kind of guy who maybe becomes a truck driver or something. But he's going to still help people when he comes here. So. But he won't shy away from not coming back because of what he went through. Yeah. But I mean, look how strong he is. He's gone all around this world to talk to mediums, and he banged on my door, and I'm not even a medium. He came to me, and I'm not even a medium, and he bugged me, and he bugged me, and I almost felt like I could feel him. Like there's some times when I'm doing a session with him, and I feel like his dog is rubbing against my legs. And I'm not psychic, but I feel like the dog is like, when I'm doing the session, the dog comes and rubs against my leg and then just does a flop at my feet. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. That's very strange. I say, hey, Foolie, how are you? Yeah, and I mean, he's quite a strong soul. Quite a strong soul. There was no way they were going to be able to suppress him. And look at what's going on with Xi Jinping right now. That's exactly because of you, Wong. He's paying for what he did to him. He's going to pay for what he did to him. Don't tell me Xi Jinping is not quaking in his boots right now. He's going to try every trick in the book to get out of this, but there's no getting out of what he's done. Look at it, it's just backfiring on him all over the place. So, yep. So this is what I want to say to you guys. We're all on the right track. Stay positive, follow Human Mom's advice, turn towards the light like a sunflower. When you see a beautiful sunny day, go and bask in the sun and enjoy it. Go watch some kids play. Bring your vibration up, because this world is tough enough as it is. We don't have to swim in the muck and the mire. We don't have to deep dive into it. And if you feel you are, just step back for a minute. Do something you love. Bake some cookies. Call a friend. Go to brunch with the girls. Do something that brings you joy. Make music, you know? And that will be helping everybody around the world, because your vibration, your I'm going to call this next 3 years the era of resonance and revolution. Okay? Resonance and revolution. It's time for the revolution, but we're also going to resonate with each other to make this world a better place. Okay? All right, everyone. And I think that's where I'll lay it off because it's almost been 2 hours now. And I think we've talked about everything and their dog. But I want everybody to put all your focus on the third and fourth. That it's that Xi Jinping is taken down hard, thrown to the mat like some sort of sumo wrestler tackled him, and they get him out. Or if they don't get him out, they make him a figurehead got to stay in his residence like a prisoner. They take down all his family. They this is how I'm envisioning it. They take down all his criminal mobster family. They confiscate all their wealth and give it back to the country because they stole it from the country to begin with. And they stole it from the people and the blood, sweat, and tears of the people. Not only that, the lives of the people, those poor children harvested, went right into the pockets of the Xi family, right into their pockets. I see every penny of that going back to the people to replenish. You know what? Yu Menglong told me she stole the pension money. That's what he told me in one of the first EVP sessions I did with him. Pension money. He said it, every syllable of that. Pension money. He stole their pension money from the old people to line his own pocket. Now, all of that should go back to the country. And that's what I'm focusing on for the next few months for Xi Jinping. And by God, it's going to happen because I'm going to make it happen. So if we can all think the same way, use our collective conscience to make it happen. Okay, guys? And then Yu Menglong will be laughing on the other side, seeing him go down, right? Because that's what he wants to happen as well. Is it the 3rd or 4th of April? No. It's not April, it's March. So, it's not April. It's March, right? That the meeting's going on in Beijing, and also the full moon. The lunar eclipse is on March 3rd. So let's all focus on March 3rd and 4th. Let's pray for Hugh. I swear if I knew any thugs, I'd be all over that. I'd have someone kidnapping someone that they'd want to have back, and holding him for ransom for Hugh, saying, you want this deviant back? You want this heinous creature back? Do you want your reptilian offspring back? You better give us the good person that's in that prison cell naked right now. And he better be in one piece, or that other guy's missing a few pieces. Right? I'm a little more thuggish than most people. I'm a good person, but don't push me. You won't like to see the other side of me. All right, guys. Oh. Yes, it's March. Yes. Okay, let's focus on that. Yeah. I just want to say I'm thankful for you guys because I know we're all in this together, and it would be a tough thing to be going through on my own. I think we all did the collective sort of what the hell when we found out about this. I think it all sort of kicked us in the privates of our psyches, and we're reeling from it. And now, what did you have to do when you find out stuff like that? You have to reach out to other people to get some normalcy and understanding and to be able to talk about it. So I'm happy that I have you guys, and I'm gonna keep fighting. I'm gonna try to come on live twice a week. I'm gonna try to do 2 EVP sessions a week, one on a Chinese celebrity, and I think one on other celebrities that have passed with questionable reasons, like Michael Jackson. And I think I'm going to do the Korean actress who committed suicide from Meteor Garden, but it's flowers, boys over flowers. That's it. I'm gonna try to do her, because I think the more I delve into how the industry, entertainment industry works around the world, the more we find out about how it works in China as well. Okay, guys. Okay, so someone's saying on my 3rd March, I'm flying there for holiday around that time. Hopefully, I'm in peace here. So, where are you flying? Fiona, where are you flying? To China? Oh, my sister said if you're going to the Philippines, you better make sure you're not on a flight that has to refuel in China. And I was like, yep, I'm not doing that. Going nowhere near China after the things I've said. I've let all the cats out of the bag about Xi Jinping, including his illegitimate children. So I don't think it'd be a good idea to land on that soil. Maybe after he's dead and gone, which I hope is this year. I think I think it's going to be this year. He's going to die. So, all right, guys, I'm going to let you go. I wanted to end on a happier note, but I got revved up again about Xi Jinping. Zemin, oh my God. Okay, be careful. Be careful, Fiona. I hear the airports are very empty. I don't know if that's propaganda, but I hear like a lot of people are not going to China right now. And I hear a lot of people are not doing anything in China. The streets were bare for the holiday, and there wasn't very much shopping going on. There was a lot of fireworks, but there wasn't a lot of spending. It was very quiet. Was that the case this holiday season for New Year's? Okay. Right, guys, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me rant and rave again like a lunatic. Um, I hope I don't sound like a complete nutter when I'm talking to you guys. I think that might be the case, but talk everything from werewolves to vampires and mermaids, and I think next time I might talk about fairies. You know what? I'm going to leave you guys with this, another YouTube channel you might really like as well, if you like the unexplainable. It's called Scary Fairy Godmother, and it's stories from around the world from people who have encountered the Fae. Oh, it's so interesting. And she's such a good, she should do audiobooks. She has such a good voice. But she's an author as well as so. Oh, did I tell you guys? Someone contacted me out of the blue about my books. Um, and she actually met me on here, and she put in looking for me on Instagram and stuff like that. And she found my books on Wattpad, and she said she just finished reading all of them. She said she devoured them within a week, and that's 6 books. So I was like, yeah, well, wow, thanks. That's good to hear. You like them. So she's sent a friend request to me on Facebook, and I completely um, sleuthed her out on all socials to make sure she was real and accepted her friend request. Deb, who was talking about the cool channel you wish they can talk to Menglong? Oh, do you want to know the name of it? Yes. She's an Australian from Victoria, Australia, I believe. Her name is Dolly. I think the name of the channel is Kineton. I don't know how you pronounce it. Paranormal. Um, but if you put that in with sort of a prompt of Marilyn Monroe, she did one with Marilyn Monroe, she did one with Michael Jackson. She's been doing it now, I guess, for the last couple of years. And I really like her. She uses the Estes method. But she's quite the personality. She's very charismatic. Charismatic. Okay, I want to thank you guys.